Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whatever time it is you're listening and watching this program. Welcome to Philadelphia Eagles Talk with Geoff. And I want to welcome in the audio audience there on the platforms, Spotify, Odyssey.com, Apple, iHeartRadio, and of course, our audience on YouTube. Welcome to the show. We got Matt on today. And as you can see, for those of you who listen to the my post game, that I did say we're going to have a guest representing the Cowboys with us for the show. And unfortunately, and this has nothing to do with the fact that the Cowboys are, they're coming into the game really injured and obviously not playing well. I don't want you to think that he bailed because of that. But my guest had a conflict schedule that came up, and so he's not able to be here. But we're hoping when they have the rematch later in the season, he'll be able to join us. So unfortunately, you're stuck with us once again. But we're glad of, obviously, to always have Matt join on the midweek podcast. So we're going to have Matt touch on his thoughts on the Jaguars game. And he's already kind of shared mine on the last podcast. So, Matt, as always, welcome to the podcast. And, before we get into Dallas Hate Week, what are your thoughts on the Jaguars game? Just anything that you wanted to kind of point out? Of course, the thumbs up, thumbs down on players, and you know the drill.
Yeah. No, thanks for having me on again, and hello out there, everybody. What's funny about the Jaguars game is we called it. We knew it was going to be somehow difficult. What was funny though was we didn't have the typical slow start. We got up to 22-0, and then we're like, okay, we're in cruise control. Just freaking hit the cruise control and make no stupid decisions, and we should be fine. Well, Nick Sirianni just couldn't have any of that, so he made some stupid decisions, I thought. And it's amazing that sometimes it's amazing that this team can win in spite of those decisions. So they let Jacksonville back in the game, and all of a sudden we're within one score as we go into the final portion of the game there. And that game really should have been. I mean, anybody who watched that game knew the Eagles were in control for pretty much the whole game. So that game should have been what were we saying? 28-13, I think was. I had 28.
I mentioned it in my post game. Both of us, in terms of what the Eagles score was, you nailed it perfectly. 28 points,
right?
Great job there. I had 31 points. So Eagles wise, we were right there, and then we both had the Jags with 13. And if you take away the touchdown that they handed to them, well, the refs handed to them. Well, we're going to talk about that too, because I know that and I mentioned this on my post game, that because of one of the texts that you sent me, we may differ a little bit on that play. So we'll get into that once you talk about it or bring it up. I'm talking about the Barkley fumble. Well, we both had 13 points by the Jags, but if you take away the touchdown that we gave them, they were right around there. So
right there,
we nailed the game score-wise. So anyway, go on.
Yeah, and a couple silly calls by the refs this week. One of them in the Kansas City game.
Which one was the Kansas? Oh, the offsides guy?
Yeah,
not offsides, but the false start. Yeah,
false start. I mean, the refs don't miss that, and this one was obvious. This one wasn't like Lane Johnson's right foot maybe anticipating. This was like the whole body moved, and I'm like, and
they
then
never miss those. Now it really makes you wonder with the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, I hate conspiracy theories like that, but because you want to think that the NFL, I mean, it's a tough game for the NFL, for these refs to call. I mean, it is fast action. I try to get the benefit of the doubt if I can, but stuff like that. And the earlier in the season with the Pitts play, right, when the guy was completely practically tackled Pitts in the end zone, no call. It's really Kansas City just gets. There's like Brady. It seems like if you have an elite quarterback, the refs are always like, "Hey, man, unless it's totally blatant, and even sometimes it is, we're not going to call it."
Meanwhile, Cam Newton's getting killed when he played with the Panthers, and nobody's throwing any flag at any time.
Yeah.
So the Barkley fumble was just, I can't believe they didn't see that. I mean, if you go to a slow motion replay, they show his finger even pulling the sock off of his calf as he's getting tackled. But I'm like, but clearly there was contact to make him go down anyways. And I'm like, and I haven't, usually it's just every replay I've seen in that scenario is if you touch the player on his weight and he happens to trip himself, but you touched him, that's a tackle. They've never ruled it other than that. So to have a ref kind of put in a subjective view there to say, oh, that wasn't enough to be called a tackle is kind of like bullshit to me.
Yeah, here's my take on it.
Excuse me.
I'm I understand what you're saying, 100%, because that's usually how it works. My issue is there's not really an issue with it. It's just I don't have a big problem with it normally, like I typically would, especially since it went against the Eagles. Because even though he definitely touched him, I don't think it had anything to do with Barkley going down. I think Barkley went down because he clipped his own guy, and that brought him down. And the reason why I'm just saying that because, like, say he didn't fumble the ball, and they say he stayed up on his feet and ran it for the rest of the way for a touchdown. I think a lot of times refs let that go, and they would not blow the whistle and mark him down, and they'll count the touchdown. So
that's a good counterpoint.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, I understand it, and I still don't think it was a good call because of the inconsistency. But at the same time, I'm like, the guy tapping him on the ankle, or I didn't see the pull of the sock, but if he actually did pull the sock, that's fine too. But I just don't think that took him down. I think Barkley ran his own guy and went down. And I think the refs made a judgment call there against the actual, quote, rule if he's down by contact type thing. So that's where your point is, being subjective over it. I get it. I just didn't have a big problem with it. I just and then people were like, why is that a fumble? He was down. I'm like, no. If you remember, this is what I pointed out on the podcast, and you'll probably remember this play. I'm not sure how many people in the audience did because it happened a number of years ago. But do you remember when it was against the Eagles, I believe, and it might have been a playoff game, but when Eli Manning, when he ran with the ball, which he rarely ever did, but he kind of took off on his own with the ball, and rather than sliding down like most quarterbacks did, you remember he fell forward and fumbled the ball when he hit the ground, and it went loose, and the Eagles got it. So I kind of equated it to that. Like, that's why it was a fumble with Barkley. And so, that was my issue. I just didn't really have, to me, it wasn't like, oh my God, what a horrible call.
Yeah. There was contact with Eli Manning, though, at all when he dove forward and fumbled the ball, where there was contact as Barkley was getting through the line.
That's true.
Tripping and falling. That's the difference. But I get your point on that, and we won't spend much time on it, but that was one where I'm like, 9 out of 10 times that doesn't go that way.
Yeah.
So I got to give Hurts thumbs up again for having a mistake. Actually, Hurts was huge in this game. I thought Hurts looked like he was back in command and was going to dictate that game to the Jags. So I felt very good about Hurts. He gets 2 thumbs up. He wasn't perfect on all his throws, but he throws another freaking dime to Devontae Smith, and Smith just makes another incredible catch.
What a catch. One of the best catches I can remember an Eagle player making in a long time.
Yeah, and I don't know if I've seen an Eagles receiver that tracks the ball better in the air.
Well, maybe Deshaun Jackson was really great at that.
Yeah, but Deshaun's usually blowing past his guy, and then he just has to throttle down a bit or throttle up to go get the ball that's thrown a million miles out there by like Vic or something. But
yeah, if you're talking about not only tracking the ball but also making a catch and getting his feet down and those type of things that he always does on the sideline or in the end zone. Yeah, absolutely. He's the best receiver I've ever seen do that stuff.
And his body's bent backwards. It's bent 3/4 twist. Just
2 weeks in a row, he's made an amazing catch in the end zone. The week before, the one, over the shoulder, and the guy was all over him too, and he made that great catch.
So Devontae's incredible. He deserves 2 thumbs up too. And then, Barkley's just amazing again. And everyone saw the reverse. He must have hit all the PlayStation buttons on that move to just spin out.
Yeah.
Just spring up.
I've never seen a player. I've mentioned it. I'm like, I've never seen a player ever do that.
No,
ever. Hurdle a guy backwards in midair after doing a spinorama.
It's crazy. He's crazy good. So glad the Eagles signed him, and he's happy here in Philly. So
he's not a small guy too. He's like a thick running back. The guy's he's made he's cut out of steel.
Yep.
And get that high to leapfrog a guy backwards.
Yep.
He's just a special type of athlete, man.
He is. And on the defense, I'll just go with the linebackers, Zach Bond and Nakobe Dean. They were huge in that game, made big plays, and Nakobe to seal it on that interception to just say game's over. It was a great interception, number one. He had to get all the way up. He's not a tall guy, and he got all the way up to catch that pass and to have the hands to hold that in.
Yeah, great.
And the game was great for Nakobe. So he's playing with more confidence, but I'll go Bond and we gave all the credit to the cornerbacks in the last few weeks, but we'll give Bond and Dean credit for this one. But they're looking like the team that we had a couple years ago, where the train is on the tracks and here it comes, and you might find a way to stop one part of it, but the other parts are just going to mow you over if we don't turn the ball over and we stick to the run. So we've been saying that for a few weeks, especially since the bye week. Like I think the beginning of the season, after week 1, I said this team can win every game if they don't turn the ball over and commit to the running game, and they should win every game, no matter who's injured on offense, right? Their offensive line has been banged up, and you still look at Jeff Stoughton University, and I'm like, just this identity talk of like, what's our identity? I'm like, run the ball. That's it. Just keep running the ball, and that's your identity, and just mash them, and score like Deuce Staley said years ago. So,
yep, I agree with all your points. I gave Hurts a thumbs up. I thought that was the best game I've seen Hurts play maybe since the year they went to the Super Bowl. I mean, he's starting to look that good again, and that's probably the greatest compliment you can give him right now, because he's making good decisions. He's throwing accurately. He's much less of the running out, the stuff that I've always critical of him. Running out. He's really
running up the middle, right? He'll sidestep somebody. He'll look to go forward up the middle and then cut outside. I'm like, the whole trick. Exactly. Get the line of scrimmage, get those defensive linemen behind you, and then cut to the outside.
And he just looks faster again. He looks like he's running faster than before. So that's good too. Like when he's taking off, he's like really taking off now. Mentioned Vaughn and him on there. Cooper, I think Cooper had another great game as well. It's so exciting to see these young guys. Him and Mitchell, I'll mention him too. Again, locked this guy down. And then Sidney Brown, the opening punt return, causes a fumble by nailing the guy. I mean, I really want, especially after Maddox is just not.
He's a waste. Maddox, you looked real good when we had nobody else out there, but now we have people out there.
Just put Sidney in for those Maddox plays now. If you're going to slowly incorporate him back into the defense, to me, that's the perfect thing for him to do. Put him in for Maddox.
Yep.
Have Maddox take a seat. I mean, I think ultimately down the road, I think they might move Cooper, even though I think Cooper might be a better safety than corner.
I think Cooper could run, though. I think Cooper should be fine as a corner.
Yeah, I mean, maybe push him to corner. Then you got Blankenship and Brown at safety. You can let CJ go at some point because he's not. I mentioned in my post game that CJ is not playing as well as he was when he was here 2 years ago. He's just not. I think he's still good, but he's not. He's not making any interceptions. He's missing more tackles than remember him usually making. I don't know.
Let him play the slot. Let Sidney Brown and Blankenship be the safeties. You got Mitchell and DeJean on the corners, and then let CJ. CJ is definitely quick enough to play the slot guys.
He is, but you don't think maybe Cooper is more just because he's played his physical style to be a safety?
No. I like cornerbacks that can tackle because it gives you that extra defender on the field that people think they can run over, but they can't.
Okay. Yeah.
He moves fast enough. The only thing I care about for safety is speed. And DeJean's definitely fast enough to play, but fast enough to play cornerback. So let him – I would keep him at corner. Yeah,
because I just want to get Sidney Brown in. I mean –
put him at safety.
You got to get him in the game. He obviously is proving now that he's – I mean, that's what he does. He creates turnovers. He's a heat-seeking missile. You play the run. Coverage, his last, rookie season, sometimes, but that happens with young guys, and it's going to happen with Mitchell. He's going to get smoked on some play at some point.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just playing out of his mind.
Yeah. And all three of them tackle
all year. Really.
Blankenship, Brown, and DeJean tackle really well.
Yeah.
So
Mitchell. I think Mitchell's a decent tackler also.
He is. The worst tackler is actually C.J. Gardner-Johnson because he'll occasionally whiff.
Right. I mean, he's a physical tackler, but he's not good in space tackling. Nope. All right.
My thumbs down would be Sirianni, and we already talked about that.
As he was mine. Yeah, we talked about I talked about how he cost the Eagles about 8 points in that game. And I didn't like his answers afterwards. I don't know if you saw his post-game response. He's like, well, no, I'm not going to turn off my aggressiveness.
Yeah, I'm like, you're an idiot then, because good coaches know when to push the pedal and they know when to pull off.
Yeah, I'm like,
AJ Brown. You didn't have AJ Brown for the whole second half of the game, and you're still making stupid decisions instead of taking points. That's the part that really takes me off.
You have to have an idea of the flow of the game.
Yep.
the flow of the game is number one. Second, you got to consider that. Secondly, you can be aggressive. You got to be smart and aggressive. As long as smart is part of the equation of the aggressive, I'm fine with it. But you can't just be like, oh, we're going to go for it again because, we got stopped last time and I know we can make it this time.
My over-under question for Sirianni would be, how many more times do you need to get the tush-push stop before you actually stop calling it as a play? And maybe punting the ball occasionally.
You got one of the best running backs in the league right behind you.
Line them up. I did see I found it interesting that they threw a pass to the fullback before he got his concussion. They threw that.
Zimmering. Yeah.
I love that. Because that will come in handy when we get into the playoff games or we need a surprise play. That guy's an athlete.
I was just going to say that because he's really a linebacker. He's never even played fullback before. So they kind of made him this half, fullback. They kind of hybrided him with that. And then he's catching passes out of the backfield now.
So they clearly know they want to expand his role. That was what was exciting about that. Because if they get that kind of power football going in the late portion of the season where the weather's bad and you just can mash Barkley behind that lead linebacker, fullback, making plays, that's exciting to think about. So I hope he clears the concussion protocol because it'd be fun to see what he can do against Dallas. But that was awesome when they threw that pass out there. I'm like, oh, this is Kellen Moore. This is what I was expecting to see. So
what I was just thinking about being like creative and stuff. Why don't they? Because how Jordan Davis is very mobile for a big dude. Remember how I'm not saying hand them off like the Bears did with Refrigerator Perry, but why not have him lead block on the 1 or 2 yard line for Barkley? I'm just throwing that out there.
Barkley, I'm not sure Barkley can get through him or around him.
Yeah, he might be too slow for Barkley. But who's going to stop that? Put him there to go through the A gap behind him.
Yeah,
it's like another version of the tush push. Just
halfback push. Just make sure Jordan lead blocks, and then everyone just push Barkley and Jordan through the mess.
Yeah, I don't know, but like you talked about, and this is I 100% agreed with you back then when you mentioned it, and it's becoming more prominent with each passing time that they fail on the tush push. It's like it just takes away all the creativity on the offense. You can't figure out any other way to get a couple yards.
Yep, and they did run a variation of it.
They did. What did they do? They did do something different.
I think wasn't that the play that Barkley fumbled? I don't know if there's that play or a different play, but I know they did do something different. They got to the outside. But they just, I don't know, like teams are figuring that out. And
they are. Yeah, they're getting better at it. And there's no Kelsey there this year. You also were down Becton still. Not that Steen is not playing bad. He's playing good. And you still don't have Mailata. So you're down 2 guys in your offensive line. Well, 3 if you count, no Kelsey.
Yep.
But so there's 3 guys you didn't have from last year in your offensive line right now. And you're still running it as if you guys are going to ace it every time. Another reason why you kick the extra point.
Yeah. By the way, Kelsey's replacement name is escaping me right now. Who? Jurgens. Yeah, Cam Jurgens.
Yeah.
Dude, you haven't heard a peep about that center being a vulnerability at all. Like that dude stepped right in, and he's not all pro yet, but it's like didn't miss a beat.
Yeah, he's been good. Well, I never really was that concerned about that. I knew that Kelsey was the one that kind of helped the Eagles pick him. So that was always good to have Kelsey's buy-in when they drafted him. And then he always looked like he was athletic enough to play, very similar to Kelsey and be able to get down the field.
Yep.
Stuff like that. And he's put on some bulk. He's bigger than he was when they drafted him already. I don't have any issues with him. He's good. Occasionally he'll, the snapping, but that even happened with Kelsey though. So there were times Kelsey, gave Hurts.
Right. All of a sudden the ball's coming at Hurts, and he's like, "What the hell?"
Well, he saved. You might remember the one a few games ago when he totally was like, "Hey, blah, blah, blah," and hit him like in the chest, and he was like, "What the
Well,
this one, like he wasn't ready for it, but he caught it with one hand."
Yeah. Yep.
So that stuff needs to be cleaned up because that'll hurt the Eagles in key games. But he's young, he's still his first year. You hate to see that kind of thing happen, but I think that type of stuff hopefully will naturally start going away as he becomes more experienced and him and Jalen get more used to each other. Anything else on the thumbs down other than Sirianni?
No, not really.
Yeah, I didn't really not much. But yeah, there's a good point about the Jags game. There was like a flip flop of how it normally is. Usually the Eagles trail 22-0, and then they dominate the second half. This one, they were up and then tried every way they could to give the game away.
Yeah, and I think I called it, but I'm pretty sure I said they're going to get 2 turnovers, right? And they did.
You said, well, yeah, I'm not sure about the turnovers, but you did mention that their first quarter scoring streak would end, and you nailed that because that finally ended.
It was funny. Turnover to start the game and the turnover to end it. So nothing in between, but nice bookends.
Yeah. Yeah. And and the Kobe Dean is starting to make my prediction not look so crazy anymore.
Yep.
So good. He's got to keep going. That's good. Confidence is big in anything you do, right? I mean, you have to get some plays under your belt, because confidence just means a lot in any aspect of life. And especially once you start playing at the pro level.
Yeah.
Where you don't have much time to make an impact. I mean, he was probably on the verge. We were talking about ourselves. We're like, it's maybe time for the Eagles to just, put somebody else in for Kobe Dean because we had seen enough. I'd seen enough. I'm like, it was one of his biggest cheerleaders coming out of the draft. I had seen enough. And so he was right on the cusp. The Eagles were probably close to doing the same thing. Like, all right, I think Kobe's time is done here. And so,
maybe either that or that's why we're fans and that's why they're coaches. So.
Yeah, that could be too. Absolutely. Yeah. All right. Anything else I want to mention? Yeah, I thought Carter and Sweat, Sweat especially last couple of games. I saw a stat where Sweat is like top 3 in the league with pressure percentage.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have a ton of sacks, but he's like way up there amongst like pressuring the quarterback. So that's good because I don't think we've recognized that enough with Sweat.
I think I picked him as my sack leader this year though. So if we go back to those stats.
Yeah, well, I do have that here. Let's see.
I'm pretty sure I picked Sweat to lead it this year, which is usually your pick.
It was last year, yeah. Yes. Yep, you had Sweat with 9.
9. Okay, I was going to be like with what, 8, 9.
And I had Carter with 10. So I'm not sure how many Carter has. I think Carter's got about 3 or so. So I think both of us might be a little high on both of them, but we'll see. Still a long way to go. All right. So on to freaking Cowboys. And so I have the injury list, which is long for both teams. Like Dallas is coming to this game banged up.
Are they still
on a damper on this game because you want to beat Dallas with their, with all their guys. You want to have all your guys when you play Dallas too. It's not going to happen in this game. Last week Dak got hurt. He's out for about 3 weeks, so he's definitely not playing in this game. So it's going to be Cooper Rush. Diggs got dinged up too. He's got a calf, but he's practicing a little bit. I would imagine he'll play. Bland, their other cornerback's been out most of the season. He hasn't practiced yet this week, so I'm not sure what his status is going to be. He's probably going to be out again. CeeDee Lamb also banged up his shoulder. He practiced today, but limited. It looks like he's going to play hurt. So they'll probably have CeeDee Lamb. He's got an AC joint issue. Kendricks, their linebacker, who I know is pretty good. He hasn't. I don't know if it was a recent injury, but he didn't practice today with a shoulder. So I'm not sure what his status is going to be. Zach Martin also didn't practice today, shoulder. I mean, if they're not with these guys, Dallas is really playing, with a very limited.
What's Parsons' situation? Is he back?
Limited practice with his ankle. So I think I guess it's just, it's Wednesday. The key is always Friday. If these guys are practicing in full by Friday, typically they're going to play. So for those of you listening to this podcast between now and Friday, just make sure you double check, see what the injury list looks like at that point. They'll have updates. Parsons was kind of on the fence to play last week. So my guess is he's probably going to be back this week. We'll see. And what was interesting to me is I didn't hear about the Zach Martin injury. So, if he doesn't play, man, they're really banged up. And then for the Eagles, Slay looks like he's going to be back. A.J. Brown, he got good news on his knee, so it's more of a contusion than anything structural, and he was at practice today.
Good.
So it looks like he's going to probably be a go. Devontae Smith is on the list too, which is interesting, a hamstring. So I don't know how serious that is, but he did not practice. But again, that doesn't really mean much today.
don't like hammies with wide receivers.
That's true. Exactly. So they may be cautious with him unless it's a really minor thing. So again, monitor his status on Friday. Nolan Smith has got a groin. He didn't practice today. And Van Sumeren is kind of coming back still from his concussion that he got last week. So he's got to get through the protocol. Dallas Goedert, full practice. So Goddard will be back this week.
I would like to see 2 tight end setups where they got Goddard and Calcaterra there, because Goddard is the big blocking guy. You can set up with personnel that makes it look 100% like they're going to run, but then just let Calcaterra do one of those delayed teams down the middle. Yeah, and I think they could pop that with play action, piece of cake, with Barkley in the backfield. So
yeah,
be exciting to see how Kellen Moore might use them both going forward.
That was the other thing I mentioned about just when I talked about Hurts, is he's starting to throw over the middle now. He's starting to attack the middle also, which is what he did back in 2022. Yep. When he had a great run all the way to the Super Bowl. Yes, he was throwing over the middle and utilizing the middle. He stopped doing that. Last year, he barely did it. And this year, first 4 or 5 games, he wasn't doing it.
Yeah, because he was escaping the pocket to the outside.
Right, exactly. He was ruining the whole play by running off to the right. Yep. That was always my whole point when I said, stop doing that, because you're killing you're killing all the routes.
Half the field.
Yeah. And then Huff, who, man, I was hoping they would trade him. Man, I was like, please trade the guy for a bag of rocks. Even
too early, I think, on that for Howie to say that he's made a mistake on that. And, we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, and plus he's got a big contract, so it's going to be hard to unload him. But I was like, maybe there's some team so desperate they'll trade, they can move Huff out of there. But Huff is still here, wrist injury. He kind of left the game last week, so I'm not sure. Again, just watch Friday's status for what he's looking at for the game. But
yeah,
it's not like what's that?
No, I was going to say, speaking of Huff, it's they didn't move him, but they didn't trade for anybody else either. And the Cowboys just traded for Mingo, the wide receiver from Carolina.
Yeah, 4th round pick for him.
Yeah, which I thought was strange. I thought, that's a high draft pick to give up for a guy. I know he's playing on Carolina, but he has like 1 catch, doesn't he? Like for 1 yard. I think he
hasn't scored a single touchdown in his NFL career yet.
No, I think this year he's just got one catch for a yard. Like, it's so like Jerry.
Yeah, it's given up a lot for a guy with nothing, on his resume.
I don't know. I mean, maybe he sees the field, but I was like, okay, that doesn't really make me flinch at all.
Well, Cooks is out is he out for the season?
He hasn't been on the field for a while, so maybe. Yeah.
I didn't see him on the injury list, but I think he might be done for the year or something. He's got he's on IR or something. Okay, so that's what we have for injuries. Now, what's interesting is when we went through the preseason schedule and we did our predictions. Are you there? I just lost you. I just lost your picture, Matt. Can you hear me? All right, we'll wait for Matt to hopefully jump back on. Matt, if you can hear me, we lost you. We'll see if we can reestablish Matt. But what I was about to say is that we both picked, when we went to preseason picks, on the road against Dallas. Matt and I had the Eagles splitting with the Cowboys this year. And we picked the Cowboys to win this game. So just wanted to point that out. But I'm not sure if we're going to get Matt back. So let me just give him a text here and see what's going on. This is what live stream. Well, it's not going to be live, but when you're recording it live. Yeah, we lost Matt completely. So hopefully it'll buzz back in. All right, so while Matt's hopefully going to reconnect with us, I'll start going over the keys to the game. So with Dallas being as beaten up as they are, here's the thing. I don't want Eagle fans to get too crazy about, this is going to be an easy win. First of all, the Eagles haven't won in Dallas since 2017, so they haven't played well in Dallas. Secondly is, if you're all excited about Dak being out, because Dak is not – all right, there we go.
Sorry about that. Got a call coming in from the kid. Totally bumped me off.
Oh, that's what happened. Okay.
Yep.
I just didn't know. Like, I'm like, Matt, and I didn't know if you could hear me or not. So I was like, well, until Matt comes back, we're gonna start talking about the game. So anyway, what I was getting at was how we both predicted. What you missed was that I went back to the preseason predictions. We both picked Dallas to win this game. Obviously, things change during the course of the season, but I think we had them splitting with the Cowboys. They don't play well down in Dallas, which is what I was just getting into, which is why we just both picked them on the road to lose. Now, we'll see what we predict at the end of this show, but what I was just about to start talking about is I don't want Eagle fans to get too excited that, Dallas has all these injuries and they should get an easy win here because two main reasons. One, they haven't beaten Dallas in Dallas since 2017. So we're going on, what's that, 7 years? Mm-hmm. And again, there's no Dak there, but here's the thing. How many times have backup quarterbacks seem to always play well against the Eagles? Doesn't even matter the team.
Plus Rush can throw the ball fine. He just can't move, which is basically what Dak Prescott is without his ability to run. So Rush is going to play fine, I think. I don't think he's going to have any difficulty making some plays. So the Eagles got to make sure that they bring their A game, right? Jalen Carter, you can't take this game off. You should be dominating this game and getting Rush. You should be getting in Rush's face because he can't move laterally.
Yeah, and I've heard some people, talking about how they should. I just totally lost my train of thought. I totally just went whatever idea just went. I was thinking about what an Eagle fan said this week that in like a post that I was going to get into. I'll talk about the other one that came to mind. Just getting back to the trades, and I know I'm going back a little bit here now, but this is where Eagle fans just drive me crazy. In terms of like just not thinking. Like when Latimer, the rumor that Latimer was out there, and the Washington team went out and got him, which I think was a great trade for the Commanders. Eagle fans were posting, Latimer's out there, rumored with the Saints, so go get him. Howie, pick up the phone.
We don't need him.
What are the Eagles going to do with freaking Latimer? I mean, he's a good player, no doubt about it, but the Eagles have no need for Latimer. No. Where are you going to put him? Right now, we can't even get Brown on the field.
No need.
This is the Eagle fan base that's just like, man, do you ever just think for 2 seconds before you post something stupid?
Yeah, part of the problem though is it's clickbait. Like a lot of sports writers are posting that stuff too. Like Eagles rumored to be interested, and it's like, no, they're not. They're not at all. And then that starts the comment chain, and then people get likes and people sell goods and all this stuff. So it's just it's
just aggravating though. It's like, my God, just First of all, don't click on it, I guess, is your point. Because you click on it, then it's just going to keep doing it.
The world is overloaded with either inaccurate information or complete lies or just clickbait. So just stop.
Yeah. So it's just stuff like that. And it just happens with like anyone who's out there. Suddenly the Eagles, he's going to be an Eagle. I'm like, does it make sense for him to be an Eagle? Like Latimer makes 0 sense. So, no. But anyway, getting back to the game. So, but Cooper Rush, here's a guy, like you said, he could play. He's played well versus the Eagles 2 in the past. I remember the Eagles beat him, I think, the last time he had to start for Dak. Maybe that's the last time they beat him in Dallas. I'd be interested in finding that out. But either way, he's not a bad backup quarterback. He can play. But Dallas comes in. I just went over the injury list. It's very possible, especially if Parsons doesn't play, although he probably is going to be back, and Zach Martin. If Zach Martin doesn't play, that's a huge advantage for the Eagles.
We should dominate. If Zach Martin's not out there, we should dominate this offensive line.
Yeah, because there's no running game to worry about. So, they got the backup quarterback, but they can't just go to the running game. They don't have any. And I don't even know what Zeke's status is because, again, part of the whole Cowboys implosion that seems to go on every single week. They benched Dak because what did he do? Did you get any news on that story?
He didn't even get on the plane. Zeke didn't even get on the plane. So I don't know. It was something they said it was disciplinary, but I didn't hear any other buzz.
Yeah, I don't know either. But anyway, it's just the combination of things with Dallas, just like, and for us, it's just awesome. But I'm just saying, don't take this game for granted. I'm hoping the Eagles certainly aren't. I mean, this is what it was. It came back to me. So an Eagle fan was like, this is a trap game. The trap game. I'm like, first of all,
Dallas
No
is never.
Dallas game is ever going to be a trap game for the Eagles.
No.
I get what he's trying to say with the big Washington game coming up, but not Dallas. I mean, Dallas is never going to be a trap game, regardless of what their record is, what time of the season the game is, who they're playing the following week. I mean, come on, dude.
No chance.
This is a trap game.
No, especially with Sirianni as their coach, right? This is where Sirianni is usually all about beating Dallas, right? He knows.
Yeah, exactly. So those are a couple of things that I was just like, man. But at the same time, not being a trap game, not saying that, but the Eagles got to still show up, take advantage of Dallas not having these guys in. It's really a game that they should end this streak of them losing in Dallas. They should really win this game now. I don't know what your prediction is going to be. I'm not going to pick against the Eagles like I did in the preseason because of what we're talking about. Dallas not playing well. The team's imploding inside. They're not good this year on top of it, even when they've had their starters in here. And now they're playing with maybe 2 or 3 of their stars out. This is a game the Eagles have to go in there and dominate. So
I would love to see 31-10 or something like that for this game. I'm not sure if it'll end up there, but in my fantasy mind, my Homer fan is like, let's mash them. Like, let's crush them. Yeah. And let's make them play with a whole bunch of strife for the second half of the season.
They're not playing well at all at home. Twice this year already, they've given up over 40 points at home in losses. So this could be the third. The Eagles might hit 40 if it's one of those games where, listen, Dallas, I think to your point, man, if you smash this team early, they're done. They're going to quit. They're done.
Oh, 100%.
This is what the Cowboys are this year. They'll just let you do whatever at the rest of the game. There's no fight in them this year. So the Eagles go out there and, score and get up 10-0 earlier, 13-3 or whatever. I think just mash them from that point, to your point. That's it. And so the keys to the game, especially if Zach Martin's out, pressure. I would say stop the run. This is probably one of the few games I won't have to worry about really stopping the run. So just, do well against the run, get pressure on Cooper, and play good defense. Don't let Cooper, you got to just – it'd be interesting. Another good matchup for Mitchell or Slay. Maybe they'll put Mitchell right on CeeDee Lamb. He's arguably the best wide receiver in the league. You can make an argument that he's the best in the league. Yeah. And I put a couple guys, but nevertheless, CeeDee Lamb is one of the best wide receivers in the league. And Mitchell's going to have another good test. This is the thing about Mitchell this year. As a rookie, he's faced a lot of good top guys.
Yep.
Top guys. So, he's being broken in quick.
Faces AJ and Devontae every day in practice. So,
right, that helps. Yep, and especially if AJ's back, hopefully this is a game. This is kind of what I envision in an ideal scenario is the Eagles do get up big on them, and then they can take their guys out, especially since they have that Thursday night game.
Yeah.
And rest them in the second half.
Get them out in there. Get Tanner McKee and Kenny Pickett some snaps.
Yeah, hopefully. But you got to win the game first, Until you're up that big, don't mess around with the Cowboys. You cannot afford to
don't make stupid decisions, right? So if this is a game we should pack away, just take the points, Nick. You don't need to be balls out and going for 4th and 1s all over the freaking field. Just take the points and punt. There's no way this team's going to drive 100 yards on you to score a touchdown. So just punt, kick the ball, run the ball, and don't turn the ball over.
Yep, especially on the road in an NFC East game. And, take the points. And then when we get ready for that Thursday night game, we'll have Johnny on. Those of you who've been with us on the show know Johnny very well. He's going to, for the first time, he's going to be super excited to be on the show because usually he's on the show when his team's in last place and he's probably dreading coming on the show. But now he's got a great young quarterback. He's got a Washington team that's beating everybody. And so Johnny's he'll be probably having more fire than we're all typically used to. But good for him. Good for him. Good for certainly you got to appreciate, because us as Eagle fans, we know how it is to have seasons after seasons after seasons. Those have been longtime fans like Matt and I. When Eagles just not that good. So we can relate. And Washington is one of those teams that has been in the basement for a long time. And
Dan Snyder is one of the worst owners of all time. So I actually enjoy watching and hearing the Commanders have this positive vibe this season, because we always hated the Giants growing up in Connecticut as Eagles fans. you always hate Dallas just because you're an Eagles fan. But we always had like a mutual respect for the Redskins, Commanders. Before the Commanders like sucked for the decade more over under Snyder, they would always split. It didn't matter who was good and who was bad. They would split.
And Washington was a powerhouse team for those late 80s, early 90s. Yep. They were good, really good.
Marpian and the Posse back in 90, 91.
Yeah. The Hogs. Yep. Darryl Green. They had a pretty good defense. Dexter Manley and Charles Mann. Yeah, they were a freaking good team for a long time. A lot of Eagle fans may not know those guys, but in Washington, I mean, he's just laughing at us, but no, Washington was like one of the top, teams
every year
for a long time, and won Super Bowls, So yeah, they always have a really good fan base, and like Matt said, out of all the teams in the NFC East, they are the last team on the hate meter for at least me and Matt. I totally agree. It's Cowboys, Giants, and that's very close for me. Cowboys, Giants. Dallas always has the edge, but it's close. And then Washington's like a big, significant drop off afterwards. But so they just can't afford to trip up. I'm not going to say it's a trap game. I would never, even if they somehow lose this game, I'm not going to say it's a trap game because that's
it's not even Dallas. No NFC East game, no division team game for anybody in the NFL is a trap game. It's got to be an outside division because everyone gets up for division games all the time.
Exactly. So, what are any other keys of the game that you could think of, or how do you see this kind of game playing out?
Just keep it simple, stupid. Again, it comes back to don't turn the ball over, run the ball, and then score and take advantage of those opportunities when you have them. And they've been doing that for the last 3 weeks. So they should put Dallas away pretty handily on this one. And if Nick just doesn't make any stupid decisions to try to create some identity or be involved in the game, like if I'm Nick Sirianni, I'm like, I want the press to not be talking about me after this game. Like, talk to the players, talk about bad plays or bad calls. If there's a ref or something, ref gets involved. But like, I don't want them talking about me at all. Like, you've got great coaches. Let them do their job and just manage the game.
Yes.
Don't be putting your finger on it. Let Kellen Moore free some plays up and let him just call the game from start to finish. I want to see what happens. We would probably be up. And he spent a lot of time with that Cowboys regime. And he knows Jerry. I'm just like, this game should be 31-10.
Is that going to be your score? I was just about to ask you.
Sure. 31-10.
All right, 31-10. I'm going to go a little higher. I think the Eagles go 37-16.
If they get to 37, I bet you they get a defensive touchdown. Maybe a pick six. Wenyon.
Sure. Let's do it. Cooper DeJean.
They should handle business. That's the goal of this game is show up, handle your business, get focused on the Redskins.
Yeah, and like I said, we will have Johnny join us next week. But we got Dallas ahead of that, so I don't want to jump ahead. But I just wanted for programming and for you guys out there, want to make sure you tune in next week for that. So Matt and I both have the Eagles winning over Dallas, and yeah, I think we're going to wrap things up unless you got anything else to kind of close out the show with.
No, that's it. Keep the pedal right where it is.
Yeah,
right? We've hit about 80 miles per hour. We're not quite going 100 yet, but let's keep it right at 80.
Yep, no turnovers. Hurts has gone 4 straight games now with turnovers. That's always key. Matt needs to go get a tissue now.
Something just crawled into my throat.
Might be good. That might be a good time to end the show for Matt dies of an allergy attack.
Yeah, eyes are watering, throat is closing.
All right, so with that, thank you again for joining. Make sure you subscribe, punch in any questions, any comments. We'll certainly address them on a future show if you got any. And other than that, man, it's Dallas Hate Week. Let's go out there and pound the Cowboys into the ground. Let's not let them off the hook. We could end their season. Let's face it. We go down there and bury them this weekend.
Blow them up.
The Cowboys are done. So we could put the proverbial nail in the Cowboys' coffin. So let's go and do that this weekend.
Introduce the young
boys. What's that?
Introduce the young boys, those young DBs. Let's introduce them to what Dallas week means. Let's get some interceptions and score some touchdowns.
Yeah, exactly. Let's put the nail in the coffin of the Cowboys season. All right, with that, fly Eagles fly. Go Eagles this weekend, and make sure you come back for the post game, and obviously for our pregame next week against the divisional battle with the Washington Commanders. All right, thanks again, Matt, for joining the podcast, and we'll catch y'all later. Thanks again for watching. See you.